Hi, I'm Madeline James, and today I wanted to do a video that kind of started in my head as a mid-year goals update for 2022, and I think it's kind of going to turn into more of what my plan for getting published is. I do want to apologize that I'm recovering from a cold stomach bug kind of thing. I'm very congested right now, so I probably sound really funny, so sorry. Okay, so to get into it, if you've seen my 2022 goals video, which I'll link in the cards, but I'm not going to kind of talk to it exactly. I'm not going to go through all the other different types of goals either, but basically my main writerly goal for the year was to get to the point where I was ready to query by the end of 2022, and I do not think that's going to happen, and I've also learned a lot about exactly what I want to do and kind of what I want to do going forward. So I just wanted to talk through it and like sort of what I'm thinking, what I'm planning, and kind of why I want to do this. So first, I'm not going to get to the point, I think, at the end of the year where I'm ready to query. And this is for a few reasons. First, I'm doing a lot more significant of a rewrite than I was expecting, which, you know, will always push you back. But I think it's really important to do, and I'm learning a lot in this process too, so I really don't want to rush myself. But also, I haven't had as much time as I foolishly expected to have, which, I mean, you know, who ends up having more time than they expected? I don't know, crazy people. But I've had a lot going on this year. I have a lot planned moving forward in the rest of the year. I've had a lot going on at work that I wasn't expecting, and I've had a lot of medical issues that I will probably be doing a lot of appointments and tests for when I can finally get in to see specialists later this year, and it's just, it causes a lot of time where I'm just not feeling up to writing, even though I think I can get to the point where I can write through these kinds of issues I'm dealing with, but I'm not there yet. So basically, I think everything is going to take a lot longer than I expected. And then the other thing is, this year I've learned a lot about publishing paths and what it takes a lot of TradPub authors to actually get published. And I think this is something that you don't, well, at least I didn't really comprehend fully until I was taking the time to actually listen to people's stories, listen to Q&As, that sort of stuff. I listened to a really good video between Stefan Aaron and Michelle Schuster recently, which I will link below, but they basically talked about the process it took them to get published, which I think Stephen was somewhere in the realm of like he wrote like 8 books or something before he got a deal, and for Michelle it was a lot. And if you've seen any videos by like, you know, Brandon Sanderson, like he wrote, what was it, like a dozen something books before he actually got one published. And it's just, it's become really clear to me that when it comes to being traditionally published, it takes time. It takes many books and many iterations, and a big part of the process, it seems like, is that that's how long it takes to get to the point that you're writing books that are at the standard that they need to be published. And like I've also hear a ton of stuff about how, you know, there's a bit of luck to it and your timing has to be right, but if you combine, like say your manuscript is actually good, say you've been active in the community and you've been making contacts and you know people that can give you good feedback, and you've taken, you know, the time, the diligence, whatever, and you query properly where you're doing it slowly in batches and you're really responding to the feedback you're getting and where you're getting feedback, so you know what needs to improve and you're like going about everything in the most optimal way possible. You know, it can still take some time, but in a lot of cases it's also just that your quality isn't there. And that's something that has taken a long time to really sink in, because I feel like I started to hear that a while ago, but it's just been slowly kind of simmering in the back of my brain. And I realized a number of things with this. First, I really want a career as a writer. I also really want to get to the point where my books are actually able to give me the career I want. My skill is actually at that level. And so that's going to take time, and I may have to spend a decade writing books before I'm ready to get an agent. And the other thing is, I hear a lot of people talking about why this is a reason why they might go with self-publishing instead of being traditionally published, but at least at this point in my research, in my own journey, I am of the opinion that what I want to write is in general commercial enough, and there's enough of a market for the types of books that I want to write, that if I get my skill level up, I can eventually get an agent and a publisher, and like I believe I can do that, and I believe that if I do not get an agent or a publisher with, say, my first book, it's because the quality isn't there, the timing isn't right, whatever, and I would prefer to write another book and get a lot better as a writer than just self-publish that book. There's also a lot of reasons behind why I prefer to be trad-pubbed than self-pubbed, which I have changed my mind a few times, but I've been pretty focused on traditionally publishing since I kind of got a lot more serious about everything. I could do a full video about that if you're curious. Let me know down below if you want me to do a video on exactly why I want to go trad-pub instead of self-pub, but yeah, if you've seen any of my other videos about this, I think I just did one about how or why multi-POV books are hard, but my main writing project is very difficult. First off, it's longer. I am trying to get it down closer to 120k, and I think I can do that, but in general, it has a lot of plot lines. It has 4 POV characters with their own internal arcs, with, you know, more external arcs with subplots. It's got a lot going on, and it is the first book in an epic fantasy series. It is not a book that could be turned into a standalone. It is absolutely the start of a trilogy, and it's just, in general, it is just really difficult, and I'm loving it. Like, I enjoy writing it. I love all the world building I've gotten to do. I love everything that's in it, but the thing is, when I'm trying to work on such fundamental skills as really understanding how to create really impactful arcs and really good characters and work on my prose and like all this types of stuff, like pacing alone, like there's so many different layers to pacing, and it's really hard to do all of those things when you have so much going on. My intention is still to push forward with this project and get it to the point close to maybe the end of the year, maybe Q1 of next year, where like I've kind of wrapped up how far I think I can take that project with my current skill level and then query it. But going forward with the assumption that, you know, maybe I don't get an agent with this first book, right? Because that's kind of the assumption I'm going to be working with in terms of like long-term planning, because we got to be realistic here, people. But I want to plan my future projects with the intention that they are going to help me really get my skills up, allow me to learn quickly, iterate quickly, and, you know, be a little bit more commercially viable for a debut author, right? So the things that I'm going to be looking to do are to write shorter fantasies. I'm still like not going to write anything that's like that short, but like maybe closer to 100,000 words. Things that are standalones, like hardcore standalones, maybe have a hint of series potential, but are standalones. Maybe single or dual POV, and just in general are a little simpler. I want to focus on less things in each book. Like maybe in one I'll have like a really complicated magic system, but I'm not going to have a really complicated magic system, a ton of cast, a ton of subplots, a huge set. Like I'm going to try and tighten that up a little bit so that it's a little bit easier for me to kind of write these projects and iterate them, because I'm really learning that every time you kind of go through a stage, you're learning so much. And for, say, doing a first draft, it doesn't necessarily matter if your first draft is 80,000 words or 150,000 words, like my first one was. Like, going through that process, you're not gonna learn more by having it be that much longer and that much more complicated per se. Like, sure, like there's a point where you start learning more advanced skills and learning how to do these more complicated things, but in general, it feels to me like it would be in my best interests and help me improve faster and help me get to where I want to be faster, which is being a traditionally published author with a career as a traditionally published author. Wow. To focus future projects on this. And also having them be a little bit higher concept, a little bit shorter standalones with potentially series potential. Standalones with series potential. The golden words, whatever. That is also a lot more attractive as a debut. It's a lot less for a publisher or an agent in general to commit to take a risk on. It's a lot less money that it would cost for it to be formatted, edited, printed, all those things. For an audiobook to be created, a shorter book is a hell of a lot cheaper to produce than a significantly longer book. It really adds up. So I feel like this is going to be the right direction for me to go in the future to really try and go towards my goal. Because yes, I want to write books that I love, and I love how complicated and crazy my current main project is. It is so cool. Like, at some point, I'll walk you through it at the point that I either permanently shelve this project or it's, like, being published and I have permission to talk about it, but I have so much world building done for this project. Like, I have just so many different cultures and maps and lands and geography and climatology and just all this stuff figured out for this world. I have so many family trees figured out. Like, I could probably jump into a random point on the map and start talking to you about all the major players there, all the stuff that's going on, history. I have so much stuff that I just know and have developed for this world that isn't necessarily ever going to be in any of the books. There's stuff that I could pull in later books in the series if I ever actually write them, but it's one of those things where, is that really the best use of my time? I love doing that stuff, but is the most important thing for me getting to do those things, or getting to the point where I can do those things really well and get paid to do it? And that's the thing I really want. So my goal for this year, I'm still kind of aiming for the same thing. I'm still aiming to be able to be ready to query at the end of the year. I'm thinking it's much more likely, again, that will be pushed into next year. I might even apply to Author Mentor Match again, because I will have revised this book so much so that it would qualify to be entered for that again. I may try a couple other mentoring projects if I'm done actively revising, because that was the other thing. Like, I didn't want to apply for another mentorship program if I was still actively changing my book, especially if I was changing it significantly. So if I get to the point where, like, I'm done with everything I can do, then I'm okay, you know, submitting to a couple of those throughout maybe the spring, and then either, you know, I get maybe a mentor or I start querying and I kind of see where that goes and I see what my problems are, and, you know, maybe I'm a lot more talented than I think I am, or maybe I wrote a book that just the right person thinks it's the right time for it, or something like that. But most likely I will be putting that project aside. And it's kind of a sad thing to think about, but again, I've been iterating over this in my head and I've kind of gotten to the point where, like, maybe this is the best thing. And then I have a second project that I've already started. It is, I think, almost at the point where it is ready to start writing. I need to kind of, I have a full outline for it. I need to kind of go through that, maybe add a few more details, maybe expand a couple small things, but in general, it's the type of project that I want to do moving forward. It's single POV, significantly less plots. It's a lot less crazy. It's just the scope is smaller. It's not epic, and it is, you know, it could be turned into a more epic series, but it's just very cool, very high concept. I have a really, really cool magic system for it and a couple of really cool things that are just really, really, really good, and I'm very excited about it, but it's going to be a lot easier of a project. So I hopefully once I'm done this revision, that I'm working on right now, this major rewrite, which is draft 4, I think. I'm going to put that aside when I'm done it, which will probably be the end of August, I'm hoping, and then send it off to critique partners again for some feedback. I think I'm going to maybe not do a professional editor, just because I think it's too complicated to get a good developmental edit of this project without my skill levels being higher, because there's so much going on and it's so long. That may still be something I do in the future with a shorter project that would cost way less money, but I think I'm gonna kind of focus on doing this myself and with critique partners. But yeah, so while that's with critique partners, I'm gonna start writing that other book. I don't know if I'll finish it before I pivot to working on the other project. I might try and finish the first draft. It might depend on how much time I have and how quickly I'm moving, but I'm excited about that. I think it's the right call, and I think that project really fits into my goals in the future. So future projects would all kind of be different, but in the similar line. And then, you know, I think my goal, again, is to be actively working on 2 projects at a time, one sort of in the revision stage and one in the planning, drafting phase. So once I'm ready to start querying this new my main project, I'll probably start planning a third project while my second one is at the point where it's in revision and with critique partners and all that stuff. That's working pretty well for me. So I feel like this video is going to be really long. Let me actually check if I'm still even filming. Okay, I am. But I really just wanted to chat about this and the things I've learned and why I'm doing this, because, like, I've just been learning so much. And honestly, AuthorTube is probably the biggest place I learn from. Like, obviously Brandon Sanderson's videos are brilliant, but just in general, like, listening to other writers and other authors, especially the authors that are kind of living the career that I want to have, or have the career I want to have, you know, it's just really, it's really helpful and really inspiring and really educational, and I want to keep learning as much as I can. I want to keep growing as much as I can, and, you know, I just wanted to talk about that. So if you have any thoughts or, you know, plans going forward, what your game plan is for getting to the point where you can have the career you want to have, if you want a career in this, I'd love to hear about it down below, because it's very fascinating, and I think it's really going to be very specific based off individuals and what those individuals want. But I think that's all I have to talk about right now. I think I'm going to go start filming a vlog so that I can actually get some work done. But I will see you next time.